Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is the debut edition of the Supernova Show, and I am your host, Colton Roberts. Um, we've got a full team here today. I got three of the greatest young gentlemen that in the world to be on this panel with me, and first I'm gonna bring in Anthony Tisdall. Hey, Anthony, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm doing okay. I'm awake, which is a positive. I had a wedding until midnight last night, then up for work in the morning. But I'm here now, and I'm ready to talk about some stuff because I love talking about stuff.
Yeah. How's the New Year's going? You got any cool resolutions?
I've given up on resolutions. It used to be to go to the gym more, but then it just gets crowded. So I just live my life at this point. So no resolutions this year.
I agree. I was just happy that when I woke up this morning, it didn't say December 32nd, 2020 on my phone.
I feel like that had potential.
Yes, absolutely. With the year that we just had, absolutely. I know you pretty well, but just for the viewers and the listeners there, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your interest? Tell about your profession, your hobbies. What do you do for fun?
Basically, I'm in Jersey, near Philadelphia. So Philadelphia is my place. That's where I love to go. I love all the sports teams: Philly, the Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies. I'm going to watch all of those all the time. For fun, I like go play basketball. I do Spartan races and then watch movies and enjoy doing trivia stuff when I'm not working, which is I'm an air traffic controller at Philly. So that takes up a lot of my time and adds a lot of stress to my life sometimes. But recently it hasn't been too bad. It's been slow because of 2020. That's been just such a great year. But I've been able to relax a little bit. So until that picks up, I can do stuff like this a little more often.
All right. Well, that's good. I love having you on the show.
Thank you.
You're one of the greatest people that I've learned to meet through the fan leagues of the Schmodown. So it's been great having you on here. Do you have anything else you want to say to our listeners, viewers?
No, yeah, I'm sure you'll hear plenty of my opinions throughout numerous episodes on here, and I'll wait until we talk about those to just spew those opinions out because sometimes they're a little controversial. So.
All right. Well, I'm gonna send you to the back, and I'm gonna bring out Mr. Ryan Payne. Ryan, how you doing?
Hey, Colton, what's happening? I'm pretty good. It's New Year, so taking everything a little slowly, but at the same time, I'm not trying to let it slow me down. I mean, we just went through a hellish year and hoping to make it brighter. But other than that little trip of philosophy, I'm doing pretty good.
Oh, well, that's good. So what are some things that interest you, or what do you do for fun, for a living, whatever?
I'm of course a 9-to-5 job. My job is I'm pretty much a maintenance worker. Unfortunately, with my line of work, it's not deemed necessary. So I'm shut down. I'm shut in. But my job before I was shut in was mainly going to bars, restaurants, hotels, places that serve draft beer. And I was in charge of line clean maintenance, making sure that everything was working properly, that the kegs were not frozen, making sure that everything was running smoothly. So pretty much any place that sold draft beer, I pretty much went there and did the line clean maintenance.
Okay. That sounds really interesting. I don't know anything about any of that, so.
No, don't worry. Most of the people I've talked to, including bartenders and bar backs, even servers, were unaware that this service was actually possible. Even owners were unaware of that too. So trust me when I tell you, even though it's been around for a while, it's still a brand new concept in people's heads. So I don't blame you for not knowing that. Hell, I didn't know it when I first got the job.
Okay. Well, so what do you do for fun? What interests you?
For fun, obviously watching movies, television, the entertainment stuff. I don't read a lot, but Other than reading comic books, I'm trying to like actually read actual works of fiction, but it's a slow process for me. But other than that, I keep my interest straight general. Certain comic book movies, video games, people are watching, and you can tell behind me. Yes, I am a wrestling fan, and yeah, wrestling has pretty much been my constant stream of entertainment since the '90s, actually. So just like comic book movies, that love has not gone away.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There were some dark times back in the early 2000s. I watched wrestling as well. I have my belts over there in the corner. Um, but yeah, well, is there anything you want our viewers or listeners to know about you specifically that's super unique to Ryan Payne?
Honestly, I don't know what is unique to me, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to say I give different takes of certain beloved properties, like comic books, Star Wars, or anything within the geek realm. I'm pretty much an avid follower. I know when there's something I love to do, or if there's a certain project or a certain something I'm into, I'm not going to lie and say I am the only one who will go 100% like without doubt into that subject, but I don't know. I guess for me, I really don't know what's special about me. I guess when people start getting to know me, they'll find it because it's kind of those one things I can't find out myself. It's more where it's something I have to discover through intermingling with people, talking with others.
Okay. All right, good deal. I'm gonna throw you to the back and then bring out Mr. JB3. How you doing, Mr. JB3? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. How are you? It's a good day. It's a good day. It's a new year.
Amen. I'm doing pretty well. I cannot complain, really. It's what 7:30 my time, so can't really
Same
complain.
here, 7:30.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good day. Yeah, it's been a good day. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, profession, hobbies, anything like that.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, I'm JB3. I am the commissioner / owner, Combat Wrestling Trivia. In fact, just got the new YouTube channel you said you just subscribed to. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I really like wrestling trivia. When it comes to actually this community, I started out as just a wrestling trivia player. I wanted to play. And then over time, things happened and I ended up having the league and running the league. And it just so happens that I went to college for graphic design and video editing. So, I figured why not do something, in that field, because I just worked jobs at the factories and the pizza places throughout the years. After I got my degree, I never really went too hard with it. So now I'm thinking, why not? So yeah, that's pretty fun. I don't play anymore, really. I play on a couple of little shows for fun, like picture in picture over at TMG and stuff, that kind of stuff. I play just for fun. I'm no good at movie trivia at all. I'm just a wrestling guy. My other hobbies outside of this league, I would have to say, is probably like Ryan. A lot of like what Ryan was talking about. I like comic book movies. I got 3 kids. I got a teenage son, and he is into all the things I'm into: comic books, Dragon Ball Z. We watch all the nerd geek theories and all the YouTube stuff together. We always go into discussions and arguments about, what's canon and what's not, and all the realms. My household is really geek. It's really, really, really geek in the house. However, I am the only wrestling fan. That's one unique thing, is in my house, no one really likes wrestling. They don't hate it, but they're not really into it. But that's pretty much it around for me. Just a wrestling guy, that's kind of a nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to join your league. I know you told me that I would have a match eventually, and I also love wrestling, as I've said before. But yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, if anyone's watching this or listening to this, go look at Combat Wrestling Trivia on YouTube.
Yeah.
Good work. Yeah, and I just realized myself that I've been asking you guys all these questions. I haven't said anything about myself. So I'm going to drop you to the back, JB3, and then I guess I'll do this myself. All right. So I'm Colton Roberts, host of this show. From North Carolina. I work at a factory where I'm just an equipment operator. I just run equipment, brown boxes in, brown boxes out, all that fun stuff. Married, have 2 kids, 11 and 10-year-old. They're the best. Yeah, I'm a fan of wrestling. I love comic book movies. I'm huge into Dungeons and Dragons. I play it. I watch the Schmodown a lot, and I'm in a few of the fan leagues. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm just me. I try to do what I can. I love Star Wars. I've made it very well known that there are some of those movies that I don't like, but my wedding was Star Wars themed, so I must like the series, and my wife must love me a lot because all those ideas for the wedding were her ideas, and she doesn't even like Star Wars, so I guess that says something about that. But I'm gonna bring all 3 of our guests back on. Welcome back, Anthony, Ryan, and JB3. Well, fellas, so now that we got the introductions done, I think let's get ready to talk some Schmodown. So we recently had the Schmodown Spectacular. What do y'all think of last season?
I mean, I don't mind the virtual. I feel like it took a while for them to kind of get their footing in it. I love the live shows. I always went to the ones in New York. I really enjoyed those, and I'm sad that they left. Me and my wife really enjoyed it. We got to meet a lot of good people. We met a lot of people from the fan league there and made some friends along the way. But the virtual is not bad, especially for the fact that if you're going to start bringing people from fan leagues into it, it gives everyone a chance. Then you don't have to worry about making sure this person that you want to play is going to be in LA at the time. They can do it from anywhere. I think it can definitely use a little extra work, a little extra love to get it figured out to perfection. But I enjoy it. I would like the live shows to come back though, because those are always good to really get a sense of what this community is.
Yeah, I agree with Anthony. I mean, I do love the live show formats. I've been to at least 4 of them now. But even then, I like the idea with these digital formats because, like before, it opens up the avenue for so many people. Because now, especially even before the pandemic, there were certain Schmodown players that we were beginning to like. They had to move from LA to live in different areas. Like best examples, JTE, Mark Donica, like to name a few. And now with Dan Murrow and Mara moving, they're in a different. Having the still rates, hopefully with Christian this season retaining the digital format, it will give more opportunities for more matches, people to get involved, and even if people are not in the families or not, but they're fans of movie trivia, just knowing that. Yeah, I live in Wisconsin, or I live in Minnesota, or I live in South Carolina. I can still play a match. I don't have to save up money, I don't have to waste $350 or $450 on a round trip to Los Angeles just for one day. I can actually still play a match in the comfort of my home, and that's a good feeling because then it feels like Schmodown is opening itself up to its fans, its community, like saying. You don't have to be a movie critic to play here. You can be a movie fan, and we'll give you that opportunity. So really, if anything I'm expecting in season 8 is I really love to see a more inclusion of more new faces involved because that's always a great thing in the Schmodown. And that also brings in more fans, more people in the community.
Yeah, for sure. Like I can't. It's weird how fate brought things together because you got the digital era now, and for first thing, like if they ever go back to a live format, I would like them to just hold it for big events. I think it would make the big events more special, and then keep the digital format, for the regular maybe tournaments and stuff. The normal things that they do. Uh, but yeah, I mean, look, Adam Collins, look what he did. And that he comes from the fan leagues. He's a digital player. I think because of him, I mean, it could open up the door to all kinds of new players that people will see in the Schmodown. And it could all be because of that being digital, switching to digital.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so weird to think back in January when they had the draft that they were just gonna have matches in person. I think the digital format definitely helped this season. Like I don't think we would have got a Star Wars tournament or an Inner Geekdom tournament if it had not been for the digital format. Like it seems like that was something they did because they couldn't film matches in person. So I love that. Like as a person who I try to play Geek. Sometimes I'm successful, whatever. But I love being able to watch more of those. And whenever they're in person, they tend to keep to singles and teams a lot more when it's in person play than they do IG and Star Wars, at least in my opinion. And so my next question for you is, if you had to be in a faction in the movie Trivia Schmodown, which one would you have been in, and which one was your favorite from this last season?
JB, go.
I was gonna say I could go first. Now I'm gonna talk about two of them because there's one that's obvious, corruption, and no hate on corruption because first off, I'm brand new to the Schmodown fan community. I just started watching season 7. I didn't watch any of the previous seasons. I've seen here and there a couple matches that I went back and seen, scrolled through and went through. So I don't know a lot, but I like what I've seen so far, and I like to analyze it. And yes, corruption would be great. They're amazing, right? A lot of it's because, like we talked about, like I mentioned, Adam Collins. However, if I were to truly pick, I think I'd have to be a part of the Rock Stars, just because Roxy showed to me with the Schneider matches how she could just pull someone, like she reached down into his heart and helped him bring him back up with her words, and that was real. Like I know a lot of Schmodown, they have their characters and their storylines, and it's great. It's fun. Do your thing. But that, I believe that was real. It was from a true competitive nature, and she had his back. And that's the kind of the team that I would personally want to be on.
Sorry. I started talking the moment my mic was muted. But I wanted to bounce off JB3. I wanted to say, yeah, if I were to become a part of the Schmodown, the first faction I immediately want to join is the Rockstars. Because what JB3 said, yeah, Roxy showed true loyalty and true compassion and empathy, but also at the same time to really get your competitor out of your head. Now, throughout all these matches, you see managers always do their best to like really try to prop up their opponents, prop up their players, really try to get them out of their funk. And Roxy has shown this season, rather if it was with Andreyko, with Snyder, with Damon, or with even during the Geek tournament with Vejvoda, and even with Josh Kaveda in the playing Star Wars match, or in the singles tournaments, she knows how to talk to her players because who she is. She's not afraid to be blunt with them. Let them know that, yeah, you made a mistake, but get past it. Don't let it drag you down. And despite her not ranking well in the factions, she has gotten at least most of her players' best matches, or at least gotten them to get out of their funk, like she did with Snyder in the singles tournament, like what happened with Alex Damon in that Star Wars match. Like, we all saw that Star Wars match. He misses one speed round question, and he was about to throw himself in the doghouse. And Roxy's like, no, get out of your head. As much as Shannon has shown she's a good drafter, she's right. Look, I love Shannon. I love Winston. I love Coy. I love all the managers there. But none of them have really shown the compassion and loyalty to their players that Roxy has. I mean, they have loyalty, but Roxy took it a step beyond. And I could bring up even more matches to where Roxy has shown even better work. Like, even with Stacey Howard, she was 2-0 this season. She didn't get to play a lot, but she had some great moments in both of her matches. Her pulling out that five-pointer against Zipper, her match against Great Drake, to where she's only missed, 2-3 questions tops. That just shows that Roxy has her players back. And Roxy's kind of like the epitome example of a manager I want to have in the Schmodown.
I'm in a little bit of a different boat. I think I have no issues with Roxy. I have no issues with really any of the managers. I think if I ever made it to Schmodown, I wouldn't care where I was. I would be happy. But I am very much not a heel. I am very much a face. I am the faciest of faces. I am just nice. That's all I want to do is have fun. Like, that is my goal. So in my mind, like, a Roxy probably wouldn't be the best for me because, she has a little bit of the attitude, which I like. Shannon I live with basically Shannon Barney. That is my exact personality sometimes that she can bring out. And I'm like, that's scary. I don't need that again. But like, so for me, someone like Coy, someone like Winston would be perfect because they have fun, especially Coy, because also he could probably give me a couple tips about, like, how to build up a little bit because, do reps, and I could use a little bit of that too. So I would really appreciate that. But he's great. He seems like he's super fun and lighthearted, and that's what I would want to do. I would want to go, and if any match, I would just want to have fun with it. I would want to be – I couldn't be a heel even if someone asked me. I would try for like a match. And I'd be like, "Oh, that was a really good game. Yeah, good job. You want to go hang out afterwards?" "Oh, I wasn't supposed to do that. My bad. I was supposed to be a dick. Sorry." So Coy for me would be my guy. But I enjoy a lot of them. Winston is probably one of my favorites overall, just due to his personality. He's so much fun. He obviously really appreciates all his competitors and everything, and he cracks me up. So those two are my tops over there. No issues with any manager. They all have their stick. But for me, I couldn't be in like a.
I like that actually. We all have our certain different tastes, our flavors of managers. Like, if this was like somewhere in May or June, I would have said Coy or Winston would have been the manager I would have went with. And it's only thankfully, because this year in reflection of all the matches, it was just kind of like, it was one of the reasons why I gravitated more towards Roxy, because of the loyalty she showed. But even then, yeah, if I'm a player that just wants to have fun for the hell of it, just wants to go in and have matches and smile, yes, Winston's my guy. Coy's my guy. Heck, even if I want a mouthy guy, I'll take Kaiser too, because he'll take the attention, or even with Kate, they'll put the attention on them, so the pressure's off of you.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know which manager I would like to play with. I think Shannon would be good. I think Sam would be good because, again, I play Geek. So I would need someone who could help me along with that. But Kaiser is also a good one because he has Kevin Smets in his they're like best friends. Hashtag smash cancer. But like, Kevin has helped me a whole lot. Like, I did the Schmodown tier to where we did the coaching, and Kevin was my coach, and he's helped me a whole lot, which I wouldn't be anywhere where I am now in the fan leagues, which I'm still not anywhere, but I would not be doing as well as I am if it wasn't for Kevin. So Kaiser would be a good one. Sam, because of I'm sure he could get connections with Rachel, and that would help. Same thing with Shannon, because Mike, in my opinion, I think Mike is the IG GOAT. Like people always talk about, oh, who's the GOAT? Who's the GOAT? I think there's many different options there. Like that actually moves
In
into
IG, it's kind of like it's a constant revolving door of the bests, and
Yeah.
the division is still a brand new one, so it's still developing. Like during its heyday, Hector Navarro and Jason Inman were kind of the greats. Then it was Rachel and Mike and Mara, and now like with the new blood, like with Chance and Chandru. So this season might be the actual time, and even with Smets too. So this season, I think it's going to be a real moment to depend on who really is the best in IG, honestly.
So this goes on to my next topic under this is who do you think is the greatest of all time? And if you don't want to answer that, who do you think is on the Mount Rushmore of the Schmodown? So that you have 4 options instead of just declaring something.
This is basically like the premise of my show Mount Schmodown. I go through player profiles to determine who are not just the best, but like who are like underrated and overlooked. So that's so for me it's like a big question. But ultimately, if I had to just give you one blank, it is Dan Murrell. Not because just of his knowledge, but because of his overall growth in the Schmodown. Because he started off already a knowledgeable guy, and then when he retired and came back, had that loss to Andrew Guy, he changed his style, came back again, started season 6, season 6, wins the Schmodown, wins the singles belt, carries it for a good couple months, loses it obviously, but then wins free for all, then wins the team's championship, and then season 7 comes by, wins it again, has 3 amazing title defenses until he loses to Adam Collins in overtime. So it's like, to me, Dan has shown incredible knowledge, playability, and perseverance. So I would say just a basic answer is Dan Murrell.
Not a bad. I mean, that's pretty much like of all time. Yeah, he's one of the best. I have a slightly different way of looking at this for the Mount Schmodown, if you will. Sign and subscribe. Basically, I'm looking at it as not the best trivia player. I'm looking at it as the people that brought the most people in, because that's how the Schmodown grows. And the Schmodown grows by getting the personalities that bring people in. And there are 2 people in particular, other than obviously Christian and Mark, who created this whole thing, is obviously Josh McCouga. He's not the best trivia player, but how many people go to the shows because he's there? How many people started watching this because of the entertainment factor that he brings? So he needs to go up there, not because of trivia, but because of what he brought, what he created for this. He's been there since the beginning. The other person that I would put on that it's between 2, but I would go Rachel Cushing. Why? Because she was great. She won a ton, and her and Clark were fantastic. But what they did is bring more women in. And that's what the Schmodown needed. The Schmodown needed more female people to watch, to become more interested in it, to become competitors. And that's what I feel like she brought to it. So if you put those 2 together, you probably increase the amount of people watching the Schmodown by 30 to 40% just from those 2. By bringing in girls and bringing in people that are like, oh, this isn't just people talking about movies. This isn't just a question answer. There's fun involved. And like I said, why I would go to Coy or Winston's, because that's what I would do. I want the fun. Like, the trivia is great. I'm always intrigued by answering the questions. Seeing what people know is incredible. I also watch it to still get the entertainment factor. And right now it's a lot of heels right now, and that provides its entertainment factor. But I'm feeling like I need a little fun to come back, and that's what I like about Coy and his group, is that they're bringing it. So McCouga and Cushing would be on my mount, just for what they brought.
Love those choices. I love them.
Yeah, see, for me, I'd have to go a whole nother route with it, because, like I said, I'm new. So if I were to do anything, I'll predict who I think the top 4 will be in like 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, and I can just go through a small list. It's funny because you talked about the entertainment stuff, and you're right about all of that. I was a huge wrestling fan of my life, like this whole show seems to be centered around wrestling, just like the actual Schmodown is pretty much centered around pro wrestling. So, he was talking about drawing in a crowd, and that is pro wrestling. You could wrestle the best match, but if you're not a draw and you don't bring in the fans, you're not going to be considered to be one of the best or one of the greatest. So that is something that definitely has to be considered, but then again, I think it's a good hybrid and a good combination of both, because you do have to back it up. Dan Murrow backs it up. And I think that he's going to be one of the greatest, probably years now. There's no taking what he's done away. But he's on there. Jeff Schneider. He's got right now the only victory over Adam Collins in the leagues in the tag match. And to me, that is that shows like that dude is. I will say this: he needs Roxy by his side. Him with Roxy is one of the greatest. Another one I got to bring up, and if he stays there, is Kevin Smith. I mean, I know he's like a celebrity, but that dude is nuts. If he stays, if he actually can, he could be the champ. He could be that one that comes in. He's the champ. But the top one for me right now, and it could be biased because like it's my first year here, but I think he's the Brock Lesnar of the Schmodown, where he just comes in, he just whoops everyone's ass, takes the belt, doesn't earn the belt and necessarily. Yeah, he earned it, but he took it. He came up and he took it 7-0. Adam Collins, that right there is he created a legacy there in that whole run. So them four to me will probably in the future be the top recognized, Mount Rushmore if I were to have to pick for like 3 years from now.
All right. Yeah, I agree with all your picks, but there's one person no one thought to talk about. John Roca. I think, in my opinion, John Roca is the greatest of all time.
I mean, he goes without saying.
He may not be the best player, but he is the single best character they have ever had. He is the he is the Rock of the Schmodown. And he's a 4-time champion. So it's not just that he has a personality and no gameplay, but he has the gameplay and the knowledge to go with the personality. So, yeah, that's my opinion. And all right, and I think Alex Damon. The fact that he has talked about that once he's Star Wars champion. If he wins the IG belt, then he wants to go into teams or singles. If he wins the IG belt and then wins either teams or singles, I will say he is the greatest of all time. Because I think if it wasn't for the fact that he hasn't won the IG belt yet, I would say he's on, we'll call it Mount Schmodown now. But I love that name. That's awesome. But yeah, like I think, and he's such a good dude. Like it's weird seeing him Roxy, because Roxy is like, a heel and a little, she has that personality, but he is the calmest, nicest dude ever. Like I remember back when they were doing Chicago.
Star Celebration, yeah.
Yeah, like I was planning on proposing to my wife, which at the time she was my girlfriend, at the Schmodown show. He messaged me and was like, I will totally help you do that. It's my championship match. Just talk to Christian. Christian and Mark agreed to it. And then she said one day, she was like, if you ever propose to me, I really want you to propose to me around my family. And I was like, crap. So we changed the idea, and I had to tell him that no, because like we had an entire thing, but it was all his idea. Like it was great. And Alex Damon, best person. But and also, like the coolest Star Wars fan ever. But yeah.
I would actually say even if he did even if it was strictly Star Wars, if he did not play IG, Alex still is one of the greatest. I mean, the fact that his knowledge, the fact that despite the fact that look, Star Wars built not defend a lot because it's one area of movies. So, but at the same time, the difficulty of questions that comes in Star Wars makes it it makes it terrifying to want to play in that division. But the fact that now with Damon, because of how big of a stature he is, we've gotten great players from that Star Wars division that came into it, like Demolanta, like Laura Kelly, like Ace Cabrera. Even his wife Molly is now involved. Even Adam Witt. He may not be there yet, but he the personality he has and just the charm and charisma he carries. That's a great injection into the Star Wars League. And of course, I want to see Joseph Scrimshaw come back because he was really, I truly believe he was underutilized. Like if Scrimshaw ever wanted to play in IG, I would say hell yes, that would be someone I'd want to see play in IG. Like with any of the Star Wars character, anybody who plays in Star Wars, I think has the opportunity to really grow beyond it, but they choose to focus there because of the passion and love of Star Wars. So even if Damon decides once, like if he loses the Star Wars belt and wants to move on from it, I'm like, that is a well-earned mini retirement from Star Wars because you have carried that division.
And I was going to say, like, JB3 talked about Adam Collins, but Adam Collins is a good IG player, and he is a good Star Wars player.
He is.
And I cannot wait till next season when if they let him be in those other two leagues, that may solidify him as the GOAT. If he wins
all the belts
in those leagues, he will. Yeah, like that's the one thing about Dan Murrell that I know he's been busy with, like, you know, being singles champion and teams champion this season, but I really wanted to see him in IG. And the same thing, like Roca has said numerous times that he wants to be in Star Wars. Like, I want to see these big time names go to IG and Star Wars to see how they do, because I don't think you can be the greatest of all time if you only stay in singles and teams, in my opinion. Like,
and now that you're right about that, you know, that's true, because, you know, that would be something that's like I said, that's some Brock Lesnar type stuff if he came and did that. If not, you know, you talk about that Star Wars champion. I just seen my first match was his most recent match, and it's ridiculous. Like, if anything, that dude deserves to just be able to vacate it and not take a loss, if you know, and just move to another division if necessary, and then maybe a tournament winner can, you know, be crowned a new champion. I don't know, because
I think it's that's a good point, because I swear, because after the match, it's already been set up for season 8. Demolanta already has number one contendership, and Damon does have the option to play Demolanta immediately or play Demolanta and the winner between Laura Kelly and Molly to make it a triple threat match. So, and look, if he holds it again for another season, I think Christian would have to come to the point where, like, yeah, your next defense is your last one, because we want to see things changed up.
I have nothing to add because I know nothing about Star Wars. I know he's incredibly good at it. I've watched all the movies, and he pulls stuff that I didn't know. I could barely tell you who played who, and they could be popular. The only person I really know the voice of is Alan Tudyk, because I love that guy in Rogue One. But he's fantastic, and he's great. The Adam Collins, if he starts doing things great, I can say that I saved the seat for him at a live event. That's what I have for me. That's pretty much it. That was the extent of my meeting him. Very nice guy. But yeah, Star Wars. I was just kind of letting you guys roll. I just wanted to be like, yeah, Alex Damon's really good. That's pretty much all I got.
Okay, so I know Anthony has to leave in a few minutes, so we're going to try and get on to the fan league questions. So, what do you guys? One, who do you think, if there's any person in the fan leagues that are going to get drafted? Because we already know that there's some people that are in the fan leagues that are in the draft this year. Like Anthony's wife is in the draft.
She is.
So do you think anyone who is in the current roster of the fan leagues is going to get is going to actually get drafted? And Who do you think should get drafted?
Oh man, I feel like this is a dangerous game. If I start naming names and people start listening, they're gonna be like, "You didn't think of names? Like what?"
I'm in the same boat as you too, man. Like,
I'll throw a name out right away. I know exactly who should go.
floor is
I
yours.
don't even know if they're in the draft. I'll tell you who should go. I'll give him a shot right now. Robert Castner.
Oh, Robert Castner's great.
Yeah, he is a good player. I have no doubt about that. Robert Castner. Like if I really had to pick throughout the families, like watching and playing, I think personally for me, I think he'd be very good in IG. I played him twice in IG, so I know he'd be good, and that would be Mark Meyer because the dude he has the personality too. I mean, if you've seen him on any streams or seen him in matches, I mean, of course, selfishly, I'd want to be a part of it as well. But this taking myself out of the equation, yeah. I think also for if I wanted to see teams done, I personally could see Christina playing teams. She has that great personality that can really help balance. She can really help balance the teams. And I've seen her play. I've seen her knowledge. I think there are certain slices or certain categories in the Schmodown that hasn't been touched on. I think Christina would annihilate.
What's your feel?
Yeah.
If you make a Chris Evans category, it's game over.
Oh, rom-coms, clearly he's been in a lot of them.
Like Chris Evans, it's all over. No. Yeah, like Robert Castner, I'm a huge fan of him. I talked to him outside of it a little bit because me and him are going when hockey season starts. I'm about to have a real big rivalry with him because I'm a Flyers fan and he's a Penguins fan. So we're about to put heads real quick. But I've played him a lot, a couple times in Classic. And we've gone back and forth. He's won a couple. I've won a couple. But he's just a really good dude, and I really like him. And if he ever made it, I would absolutely root for him. Him and Antonio beat the living hell out of me and Colton once in a teams match, so that was fun. But there's some good people out there. Really, when it comes to fan leagues, you can watch someone that's really, really good and knows all their stuff, but would they have that personality to add? You got the people that are in there with a good personality, but maybe the knowledge is a little bit lacking from what you might want. But right now, I'm not gonna really say any names because I know people that are fantastic. Maybe one name I will say, like he's my friend, Jake Meltzer is ridiculously good, and I know he works insanely hard. But he would be great. He would probably be up there with Collins as a fan leaguer pretty quickly. And but I have a lot of friends that I know. Obviously, #DraftPeggy, my teammate. I would hate to lose her as a teammate, but she definitely has knowledge that a lot of people in this room might not have. The rom-coms, she gets a rom-com category, it's game over, gone, not a question. But everyone in the fan leagues have their strengths, they have their weaknesses because it's you can test, you can practice, but you never get until you're like really in the Schmodown. You have one of those managers really telling you what you need to work on. You never really can test exactly what is that you're really good at compared to what you're really not good at. I'm in it. I'm in the fan leagues. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm terrible at. So you get your ideas. So there's a lot of people that would be great in there. I hope we see some more fan league names pop out from Christian's posts, because right now I'm seeing a lot of reactors. I'm seeing a lot of YouTube show people, and it's great because they have the personalities, but it's fun to see somebody you've played or somebody you're friends with get that picture up there. I will tell you, my wife panicked when I was upstairs on the Peloton, clipped into a bike, and then she started screaming, and luckily I realized there was no crash, so she wasn't dead. It was okay to hang out, and then she ran upstairs, and I was like, what? That's insane. But I wish the best for anyone that from the fan leagues that hopefully gets up there and gets a chance. I will root for pretty much anyone that, especially if I've played against him, like, hey, I played that guy. He just kicked ass. That was awesome.
Yeah. So I have two names. I don't know what all championships he's won, but Nick Tuhig. Honestly, I think he might be the most dominant IG player ever in the fan leagues, in my opinion. I could be wrong about that. But
having played him, I know he is good. He is very good. Yeah, he's pretty much. It's pretty much like he's pretty much like Smets was in season 6. You're like, who the hell can beat this guy? And even then, it's like But go right ahead. Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, Nick Tuid would not be a surprising thought if I saw his name pop up in the draft list.
Yeah, like he's good at IG and he's good at Star Wars. Like me and him had a Star Wars match before the MTFO went down, and he won. That's the only experience I have with a Star Wars match. But and then my second one, Joe Farrelly.
Yeah.
Oh, Joe.
Joe's a good
Right now,
dude.
with how the digital format is, I think he could kill. He is so good. But if they ever go back to in person, I don't know how that will work with him because he lives in England, right?
Yeah.
That would
He
not
has
work.
Christian has said a couple of times it would be it's not like he has no interest, but he said it would be very difficult to include people who live internationally. Because for me, when it came with Christian was making that post of other people from fan leagues, or at least for female representation, I suggested a good female fan league player, Andrea Malabag. I've seen her play in Star Wars. I've seen her play in Geek. I see that she has the love and the passion for it. I mean, of course, she lives in the Philippines, so timing and travel would be an issue. But if this truly was digital, I'd say she is someone I would definitely recommend to play in IG. Because I believe that she's got like some great knowledge, and even in TMG, there's even some people coming up with us, like during the IG tournament that TMG had. One female competitor, Megan Ryan, she's still starting off fresh, but if she were to get a tryout, I would like to recommend her as well.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Because then I could raise my hand and say, hey, I beat a Schmodown pro.
I wasn't able to manage you that one because I had a whole speech written out about Meg Ryan. I was going to use every single movie that Meg Ryan was in and just use every single one of those terms to talk about it. I had a whole plan, but then it was date night. So, anyway.
Yeah. All right. So, I know you got to leave in just a minute, right, Anthony?
Yeah, I got to.
All right. So, I'm going to make an announcement that this podcast, I don't want to just make it where it's just a thing, but me and Kevin Poss have talked about it, about introducing a new championship that will be affiliated with TMG Trivia. So it's going to be called the Supernova Show Movie Trivia Championship. Next week on this show, I'm going to have a match between Anthony Tisdale and Kevin Poss for this championship. So, the way it will work is it's going to be 10 questions. It will either be all singles questions or all geek questions. Next week, we will spin a wheel, and that's how it will be. Yep. And the winner is the champion. And then from then on out, someone can send me a message and say, I'm going to challenge the champion. And then they will get to choose what the category is, either singles or geek. The champion will never know until the match what categories they are going to be playing in. Until, and they will not know their challenger until the moment that they ping into the call. So, and tie goes to the champion. So they retain if it's a tie. So that's how it will work. Of course, like scheduling will come into play. According to how often these will be. I want to make it once a week, once every 2 weeks. But of course, if the champion and the challenger both can't be here at the same time, I'm not going to penalize anyone. But that's going to start next week whenever when we film next week's episode. So, and the rule is you can challenge for the championship 4 times in a year. So if you want to play, and as long as you're champion, you just keep on playing until you're not. So that doesn't go into your total amount of matches. And other leagues, like I know TMG is going to try and use this championship whenever they get the chance, but I'm going to talk to other fan leagues about, hey, if you want to use this, you totally can. I don't care. This person's available and they're champion of this, just to give you a heads up. But yeah, so that's what's going to start happening is next week we'll have that. I gotta write some questions because I got 10 singles questions and 10 geek.
I mean, if you're going to be playing, the best thing would be someone else to provide the
well,
question.
I'm never gonna play.
Oh,
Oh, there you go.
It's just gonna be Anthony versus Kevin, and then from then on out, unless something happens like we don't have a challenger for a really, really long time because of scheduling conflicts, then I will ask someone else, hey, will you write questions for this? Because if I play, I will only ever challenge in Geek. So I'll be like, hey, have 10.
You don't want to challenge singles? Come on, let's go. Let's go singles match.
Okay, if
Jump
I
out
get,
your horizons.
how about this? I'll play you in a singles match, but if I get more than 2 questions right, I win.
Make it great.
Make it 3? All right, I can do that. All right. Well, Anthony, do you have anything you need to plug or anything before you go?
I do have one thing. I mean, obviously, go check out Tony's League, Feature Presentation Productions. Obviously, everything over there is great. Fantasy Film Fights, the Sunday Leagues, the Feature Presentation Trivia League, all that stuff over there is fantastic on Earth. One other friend's going to be doing something called That Major List. I'll be on that in a little bit. Additionally, Opening Night Trivia League, we're starting up a new season there. Check that out. And I have a show on there called Working Title, which 2 of you have been on, where basically you pitch a movie. I give you a couple things, and then you pitch a movie based on that, and then I choose which movie I like better. And that means absolutely nothing. There is no tournament. There is no prize. There is no champion. It is for pure fun. So you don't need to know a thing about movie trivia, and you can check it out. If anyone's interested, hit me up. I'm friends with pretty much everyone on here, and I'll give you a shot. So hopefully that's going to start again next Thursday, and fingers crossed I might have a special guest. We're going to hope, but we'll see.
Yeah, I will say that was a whole lot of fun. Even though when I played, I lost to Mr. Amaro Moses, who will be a guest on this show at some point. So I want to do that again. I want to play with you again, Anthony. And of course,
playing that was also a lot of fun too. Like myself and David Garcia, we had ourselves a very great and spirited pitch title. Like, it was just fun. David and I came in. We just wanted to not tear our pitches down. We were like trying to build them up. Yeah. Well, I see everyone else's, and it's like, oh wow, I didn't know it was that.
Like, you guys fantastic on there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like if you just watch our episode, it's kind of the most polite pitch title, the pitches you will see.
Yeah, you 2 are nice, and you can go back and watch Jay Burns versus Bill Cariola, which just turned into chaos. So, you get a little of both.
All right. Well, Anthony, it's been great to have you. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been great talking to everybody. Until the next time I can talk about something.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See you later, brother.
Later.
All right. Let's see. Oh, no, that's not how we'll just go with this.
It's like you put that on you while you transition for the next topic.
Yeah. All right. So y'all want to discuss anything else about the family of the Schmodown? Or are we cool with moving on to the next thing?
I mean, it seems like we could definitely move on. I mean, literally, we could keep talking about the families or the Schmodown like for the next 30 minutes or so, but I don't want to waste. I don't want to. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to blow up my breath. I mean, I already talked a lot about the Schmodown for my show, so it's like, I mean, it's like tomorrow, so it's like I'll take this nice 12-hour break.
All right, so we're going to move on to our movie topic. So, I'm going to ask both of y'all what is some of your favorite movies or series, and why do you like it, and are there any things on this podcast that you would like to review? Like, I have a bunch of lists here, but I'm going to let you guys talk, and if y'all name something that I don't have on my list, I'm going to write it down, and then I'll say what kind of stuff I have planned for the podcast. But yeah, y'all go ahead.
Yeah. For me, I think if I were to give any kind of ideas for my personal taste, like, I know a lot of people do different kind of movie reviews. Right now, I'm watching the timeline. I'm watching the MCU timeline in the timeline order. That is an interesting way to watch it, and I think that could potentially be something to review. Just the way the story is presented in the timeline format it's kind of, it's different. So if you try to imagine watching it for the first time, I'm kind of curious if there's anybody in this world who's never seen an MCU movie where they could go to Disney Plus, subscribe, watch it in the timeline order, and then go off Disney Plus to watch the other ones that you have to.
Do you mean like in chronological order or like from movie release?
No, in like chronological timeline order. Yeah.
So like
America.
America the first. Yeah. It's
We're,
so interesting. I wish I knew what it was like to watch it that way throughout the whole series. And one of the key things I'll bring up is like Captain Marvel end credit scene. Like if that end credit scene was that someone's seen that right then and there, they'd be like, what the, because that's crazy. But in a weird way, if you pay attention, they still connect in that order in a weird way. Like it's crazy.
I do like that thought. I've yet to actually watch them in the chronological order, like the timeline order. I've just been not rewatching them just because I can. But if I want to take that option, I would do that. Yeah, start with Captain America first. I think then the next movie would be Captain Marvel, and then somewhere we kick off with Iron Man.
I think if you really want to watch it timeline order, don't you have to watch like the one scene from Ant-Man where
Yeah, I know, because I was also thinking the one scene from Ant-Man, like from both the Ant-Man movies, both from Guardians. That's why I'm thinking those are those flashbacks. They're not primarily set.
Yeah.
Like it really goes to that function. Like you really have to really think differently about it.
Yeah, and Disney Plus has the section sectioned off for that for a purpose. That's the only reason I started doing it is because I was on Disney Plus and I was like, oh, I can watch them in this order? Sweet. And I did. So it's really simple now.
Yeah, that sounds good. Black Widow comes out in May, right?
I believe that was the last release. That was the last date I heard that they scheduled, put down May. Yeah, because they pushed it back for 2021.
Yeah, so what I want to do on the channel and everything, I want to have us review phase 1, us review phase 2, and us review phase 3 in separate chunks. So like the first podcast, we do phase 1, and then we're going to rank the heroes, rank the villains, and then rank the movies. And then do phase 2 same way, and then do phase 3. We'll probably have to split that up into like 2 or 3 chunks because there's like a phase 3. But yeah, like you're absolutely right, JB3. Like I hate that you have to go other places to see Incredible Hulk and the Spider-Man movies. I mean, I understand why, because it's a Universal and Sony thing, so they can't be on Disney Plus. But I like that all the other movies are just on my TV. It's great, and I love it. But all right, well,
I think for me, this is kind of more of a recent thing because just recently, about a few hours before we did this, I finally got to watch Tenet, and after watching that film, I kind of would definitely love the idea of talking about Nolan's obsession with the theme of time, because he's always in most of his films. He always plays on that subject, like really, because if you really have to think about it, really look at things differently. Because I actually have not yet watched Following, so I don't know how that film plays out. But I'm not spoiling Tenet. Don't worry, I'm not going to spoil Tenet. But I mean, if you look at the films like Insomnia, Memento, obviously somebody who has short-term memory, so time works differently for him because it's all from every day, every moment is the beginning for him, is a new beginning. In Insomnia, of course, the protagonist, he's insomniac, so he can't sleep. So time, the idea of time not really slowing down for him, like everything's happening in the same moment. Like you really have to really look at the ideas and how these things relate to time. Even something like the Prestige or the Dark Knight trilogy, how can they relate to time? And now, of course, when you see films like Inception, Interstellar, and with Tenet, the motion of like he plays on the concept of time, but the concepts were kind of there in his earlier works. It's like you really need to look and dissect these films to realize where exactly the concept was. Because I know with the Dark Knight, there's the idea of morality being good, but one thing that was always brought up since the first Batman Begins was how long can Bruce Wayne be Batman to bring order and justice to his city? And then the Dark Knight, it continues with the idea, with the prospect of Harvey Bullock's character that Bruce Wayne wanted a life outside of being Batman. And then in The Dark Knight Rises, you see him giving up the Batman title, but he's not the better for it. And then, there's so much to dissect with Nolan's career and this idea, the concept of time that he plays around within his films.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have wrote on my whiteboard Nolan time obsession, so I'll take a picture of that later, and then we'll totally do that. I'm down. But yeah, all right. So, what in your opinion do you think is your favorite movie? I'll start. My favorite movie is Return of the King. I don't think it's the best movie ever. I mean, it might be, but it is definitely my favorite movie. I just think, even with the 800 endings that it has, I think it is wonderful. It is so good. I know it's it's one of those examples of something that's not exactly accurate to the source material, but I love it because of that. The end of, I don't know if y'all want me to spoil a 50-year-old book, but the end of Return of the King is actually really sad. The Shire is burnt down and everything in the book. Saruman has destroyed the Shire. So seeing it then go back to the Shire and it's all happy-go-lucky, and then, I mean, it's still sad for Frodo because he got stabbed and had to deal with the ring for all that time. But there's so much weight in that movie, and I love it. It is definitely my favorite movie of all time. I've never felt that way about another movie. And of course, I love other series. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I think you can see I have a Darth Vader, right? Man, there he is. And he's about as tall as my son. So I have a Darth Vader right there. And I love Star Wars. But some of the things they've done in the newer movies are not my favorite. But The Mandalorian, great. Just keep on doing that with the future movies. Have a plan, and I will be right on board. But so, what are your favorite movies?
If I have to bluntly say it, then obviously it would be Star Wars, and it is the first one. As much as I love the Empire Strikes Back, the first Star Wars, A New Hope, has to be my favorite because it's that film that really, I mean, yeah, it brought out a true the imagination. Honestly, sure, imagination, adventure, the idea of something more that's outside of your home, outside of your comfort zone, felt very great. And then, of course, the whole story itself, Luke Skywalker, his journey from wanting more from his life, then something gets plopped into his hands to where, yeah, he can move forward. I mean, sure, tragedy strikes and there's nothing left for him. But even then, just the notion of there's a bigger world out there than what's in front of you. Sometimes all it takes is just a simple nudge to get you out the door, or just to get you to move towards it. And who knows the adventures you can have there. And it's that film I definitely love going back to whenever I'm especially during quarantine, or whenever I'm at a point in my home. Or I remember that point to where I feel there's nothing more for me. I pop that movie and just remind myself, no, there is more out there for you. You just need to really step outside, take that leap.
Yeah, for me, man, it's always been throughout my years growing up, it's always been difficult for me to pick a favorite movie because I never really had a movie that I would just sit there and watch over and over again. There was TV shows that I would do that too, but not really movies. There's a lot of great movies. I loved a lot of movies, whether it was, in the geek realm or if it was just in random stuff. Like one of my favorite movies if there was anything that I could consider, which was like maybe The Outsiders which, I love the book and then I love the movie. Another book to movie that I have a bias towards is The Giver, just because, I those stories I grew up with as a kid, and then you could see it played out. But for some weird reason, as an adult, about 2 or 3 years ago, I have found my favorite movie of all time. And I am 37, almost 38 now. So it's probably around 35, 36. And I found my favorite movie. And it's actually the next movie in my list on the MCU timeline, rewatch or whatever. It's Thor Ragnarok. For some reason, that movie hit every single button for me. It checked every single button for me when it came to the MCU story that I was already into, to the redemption movie. I know some people hate it, some people didn't like it. Most people, I think, do, especially after Dark World. Everything about it, like I could just play it every day, and I would just laugh, and I would just be invested. And I just like really, really fell in love with Thor's character. I fell in love with this bond with Loki, especially when he finally, spoiler, plenty of people have seen this movie, when he tried to use the after image trick on him again, and he put the little buzzer on him and was like, nah, not this time. Like just, and then, from Loki coming back and fighting, and then they all fought together. Like there was a lot about that movie that just like resonated within me. Especially for Thor, and because you guys are probably like me. When you guys watch a movie, you get invested in a character, whether or not it's multiple characters. Mostly, it's a character. You get invested with it. You start to empathize with that character. It's kind of how I felt with Thor. He lost a lot. He was already coming off losing his mother. He loses his father. He's losing everything. He just found out a bunch of new information about Odin and a sister that he never knew about. Mjolnir got destroyed. I mean, this dude he was the shits, like that's what it was. And, he was able to dig deep and find within himself that true power. And yeah, just that movie, it brought, I don't know, full circle for everything. Maybe if I would have seen it 10 years ago, maybe it wouldn't have been that way for me. But yeah, I could watch that movie 100 times and it'd be just as entertained every time.
All right. Well, so are there any particular series or anything that you guys want to review for the channel? Or because I have quite a few, and
after this call, I'm going to be watching the new season of Cobra Kai. So I'm sure that's already on your list.
Yeah. Well, I have a bunch of TV shows, but yeah, like I obviously, I want to review the Star Wars movies. I want to review the Star Trek movies because then that will force me to watch Star Trek. Because I have only seen like 5 or 6 Star Trek movies, and 3 of them are the new ones. So, and being someone who, again, I play IG, it's not a good quality to have to where that's a big lack of knowledge there. So it's probably not a thing I should have admitted, but being honest. But yeah, like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. I want to review James Bond whenever coming up on whenever. What's the new movie called?
No Time to Die.
Yeah, whenever it comes out, I know I've invited Joe Farrelly onto the podcast, so he wants to. Him and Anthony both want to talk Bond.
I
So
definitely love talking Bond.
yeah, like the Halloween movies. Like my wife is a huge fan of the Halloween movies, so I've had to watch those. Terminator, Die Hard, Transformers, and then of course the MCU and the DCEU. Like recently, we haven't got an MCU movie in what, about a year and a half.
It's been a while.
Yeah, Far From Home was the last MCU film that we had, and
Like
I mean,
June.
originally, huh?
It was like what, June or July 2019.
Yeah, like 2 months after Endgame, and of course, of course, 2020 we would have gotten Black Widow this year, but it's been
Yeah,
pushed.
I think we would have got Black Widow and Eternals this year if 2020 hadn't have pulled to 2020.
I don't know. Eternals to me felt like it should have been in 2021, but because with Black Widow they were immediately out the gate with marketing it, but we didn't see much marketing with Eternals. So even though they said a 2020 release date, that still would have given me no confidence, because knowing Marvel and how they are with their visual department, I mean, it's mostly bland and colorless outside of Peyton Reed and James Gunn. It's nothing. They would have had to require a lot of visual effects shots for Eternals, especially if it was going to be set in space. So 2021, like if we had no pandemic, early 2021 would have been the go-to for Eternals in my mind.
Yeah, and then of course with the DCEU we just got Wonder Woman, and I don't want to just.
I would actually like to discuss Wonder Woman 84 because I enjoyed that film. I can understand the problems with it. I really can. But I would actually like an opportunity to talk about both of those films.
Yeah, we will absolutely do that. I need to watch it again.
I mean, even if I'm not on it, I think that the thing to talk about both those films, like really look at it, look at who wrote the films, and then judge the films on their qualities, not just on Patty Jenkins as a director. Look at who's behind on script writing, because unfortunately nowadays with movie making, we all want to put our focus on the director because their name's behind it, but we also lose sight of the fact that there was other people behind it as well. There was produced, especially in studios, there's producers behind this stuff who at times, depending on how much finance or funding they give, can have some say on how the direction of a film can go, just because they want to see something involved. Best example is Avi Arad, who's been involved in so many Marvel projects, and he's literally had his say on some of the Sony Spider-Man films, even with Venom, to where you can see that his inclusion should not have been considered. And of course, definitely when it comes to script writing, we got to look at the Star Wars franchise and how those films were written. And despite people wanting to put the blame on Kathleen Kennedy and the directors, the writing process itself also is a problem.
Well,
but that's just my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents. You don't have to discuss. That's just me.
I mean, I agree.
I'm not trying to tell you, talk about this, and then people are going like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about this."
I agree. Like Wonder Woman is in my top 3 favorite comic book movies of all time. Like I love that movie. And again, I've said I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and it does seem like with the new Star Wars movies that they don't have a sense of direction. Like, at least with the original trilogy and the prequels, they had George Lucas to run the show. They don't seem like they have that with any of the movies that have came out so far. And I hope that changes. Like from The Mandalorian, it looks like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni knew exactly where they were going. They do not, like Rogue One, it seemed like they knew what they were going with Rogue One. But with the sequel trilogy and Solo, they had no idea. And you can tell from the production is they had no idea what they were doing throughout the trilogy. And Solo, they switched teams midway through production because of the Miller and Lord situation. But yeah, like I love love when movies like they have an idea of what's going on. Like even though that the original trilogy they kind of flew by the seat of their pants because he didn't have it fully. He says George Lucas says he knew what was going on, but you can kind of tell that he didn't.
George,
But
yeah, it's the benefit of hindsight for Lucas. Like he can say that even behind the scenes, he has said, "Yeah, I had this planned out. Like I originally had like a 3 series or a 6 series planned out, but all of that can change if the first one doesn't get off the ground." So,
Yeah.
I mean, I like Lucas's work. Just most of the time now that he's in a certain now that he's not filming a lot, he always has a lot to say. It's like heavens forbid, like any director or author who writes something and then they're 15 or 20 or 18 years removed, or hell, 3 years removed, they'll go, "Oh, I already envisioned this. I wanted originally this, but I had to change it." I'm like, you didn't. Yeah, either you did, but then you had to change it, or it was never there in the first place, and now you're just saying that to get more fans.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, like I do want to discuss all these topics because at some point, yeah, I want to discuss Wonder Woman 84. Like I didn't like it personally. Like me and my dad watched it on Christmas and I fell asleep during it 3 times while watching it. That could have been the tiring factor that it was Christmas and I have 2 children. So it could have been that, but it could have been that the movie the movie just didn't work for me, which is the reason why I say I need to watch it again before I publicly say something about it. Because if I say, "Hey, I didn't like this movie," and then I go watch it again and I have to come back and tell you guys I was wrong, I would rather just go watch it than come back and be like, "Oh, yes, it is exactly how I thought."
Yeah, nowadays since we have films on streaming, we have the option to watch it again. Sure,
Yeah.
first time around it's not unless we're actually renting something like we paid for off of Amazon or off of HBO or off of Netflix to where it's there for a limited time. Then you can go with like, I watched it once, I didn't feel like wanting to rewatch it again. I can understand that, but if it's there for free, then I mean, it goes both ways. You can watch it more than once, or you just watch it once, and that's your opinion. But for me personally, especially with comic book films, you need to watch at least 1 or 2 or 3 more times to get it.
Yeah. If it was a thing where I had watched it in theaters, I probably wouldn't go spend money to go watch it again just to see if the opinion was different. But since you said it exactly right, it's on HBO Max for the next month for free. Because I think after a month, then you have to pay for it. So, and I won't do that. I already made that mistake with Mulan. I'm not buying a movie digitally if I don't have to.
Right.
But I will totally watch it again, and then we will totally talk about Wonder Woman 84. Just but yeah, you guys want to get into wrestling, or how much time do you guys got?
I got about 20 minutes to talk about some wrestling.
I'd say, yeah, let's get into wrestling because I just realized because I rented Tenant, I need to return it.
All right, so we're going to talk about wrestling, and that'll be our final thing for the night, and then we'll do our farewells. But all right, so wrestling. So I have a few questions for you guys. Who is your favorite wrestler of all time?
Oh man.
And then I'm going to ask you about who your favorite in certain promotions are. But we'll go ahead and go. Who's your favorite wrestler of all time? Because I have mine, but I want to hear from you guys because I already know what my answer is. And
okay.
Yeah.
I guess for me, of course, my favorite wrestler that instantly clings to me is Sting from the days of his time, because WCW was the first wrestling promotion I watched. Even though I was aware of the WWF at the time, WCW I instantly grabbed to because I remember as a kid I had an N64. One of the first wrestling game I played was WCW versus NWO, and Sting was that wrestler. The way his avatar looked on screen gravitated to me. I played him a lot, and then when I finally get to watch WCW on cable, there were like so many episodes. I'm like, "Where's Sting? Can I finally watch Sting? Can I finally watch Sting?" I finally see it. I'm like, "Oh my god, He is exactly like I saw him, but then he's even more charismatic in his promos, even charismatic when he's not speaking. Like, he captured my imagination. He inspired me to ever, even if I wrestle or so, just to be the kind of guy that does face paint, not just to support a team or show colors, just because I want to show my creativity. I wanted to bring that into families, but apparently people are taking off when you show up during a stream with your face painted. So, but
Really?
beyond that, in my experience, it's happened. It hasn't happened a lot, but it's happened in my experience. Nobody like instantly hated it. It's just more of like, yeah, I don't want to see if I want to continue looking at that for the next 30 minutes. But luckily, I made it palatable. But that was my experience. Don't worry, I'm not pointing out shit. And I'm pretty sure the matches, they're not even there anymore, so it's fine.
Man, you know me, I'll be like, what? We'll go. I'll say some stuff. But favorite wrestler of all time, where you said Sting, right? That's a good shout. Mine, golly, I've had them through different eras, but if I had to pick one, it's the classic. It's what most people's is. The Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, man. He was my guy he was the one. I didn't know anything about the backstage stuff when I was a kid, and I just seen him wrestle, and he was the best, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, HBK, great. So for me, it's The Rock. When I was a kid, The Rock was the coolest person in the world. Like, above any actor, above any celebrity, above any president, I was like, that's the guy right there. To the point where now, as an adult, I don't care if I don't want to go see the movie or not. I will still watch it. I will, every movie that he is in, I will go watch that movie. Does not matter if I want to watch it or not. He is The Rock, and he deserves my support, and I'm going to go watch it. But he is in my opinion, I think he is my favorite, and I think he is the greatest wrestler we've ever had. Like, he is, between him and Hulk Hogan, if you ask anyone, just on random guy on the street, what's professional wrestling? Most people are going to say that thing Hulk Hogan does or that thing The Rock used to do. And as a person who, I love my wrestling, but it's not as popular as it was back in the 90s.
It's not.
Not even close. Like, and I hate that. Like, I hate that WCW went out of business because it ruined the wrestling industry. Like, with just the one company, like, I watch WWE primarily. That means they were allowed to do whatever they wanted to. That means they could do stuff like the Katie Vick angle, which I hated, which I'm glad, like, I wasn't watching at that time, but that would have been a moment where I would have been 12. That would have been a moment where my family would have been like, yeah, don't watch that anymore. And I would have understood because that was awful. But, yeah, like, there's so many things that if WCW didn't go out of business, we would have so much. And that's the reason why, like, I'm like, this partnership between AEW and Impact is so great because it might actually, I don't think it will challenge WWE to, like, they'll never have a ratings war, but it will challenge WWE to use their superstars the way they need to, because right now the superstars know they can leave and go somewhere else where they'll be able to enjoy themselves.
I do. I also like that sentiment too. But when it came with WCW, I remembered one of the reasons why it was dipping was because mainly the same reason as was with what WWE at the time, ratings. I mean, of course, you're a company, you're a business, and you have television deals and you want to continue sponsorship. I understand you have to do whatever you can to spike the ratings. but it's been obvious when it comes to a wrestling product, it needs to be good, not just on that certain day. It needs to be good, but this is my personal bias. It needs to be good on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis. And one of the reasons why I think if WCW is falling apart is sort of the same reason why WWF or WWE in this situation is starting to crumble. The lunatics are running the asylum. To where in WCW, too many of the wrestlers that wanted to have the big paychecks and not wrestle as much wanted to always remain in the big picture. But in WWE, it's literally the man in charge that's kind of ruining it because it's become literally his own little play toy, or his like a Play-Doh in a sense. He's shaping it to what he wants it to be instead of remembering that the people are the ones that contribute to his success, not just the sponsorships. Like you can have a 20-year deal to stream Raw on USA every Monday, but to say that he's never going to get higher than maybe 1 or 2 million views says a lot, especially if he's going to get like a 20-year deal. He would need to at least maybe once every 3 or 5 months get over that 5 million Nielsen rate. I don't even understand Nielsen's ratings, but even then, but the one thing I do like about AEW with this deal they did with Impact and that small little agreement they had with NWA, they're trying to build up the other wrestling companies and at the same time get fans interested in other avenues of wrestling, so they don't have to just watch on the TV screens. Like best example with the AEW and NWA partnership, it introduced me to the wrestler Thunder Rosa for the first time. And when I saw Thunder Rosa, I researched to look for her matches. I discovered she runs a wrestling company as well, or a wrestling organization called Mission Pro Wrestling. And they have been streaming wrestling matches off of their little website. Like Thunder Rosa, she is not just passionate, but she's a hard worker. She is on. Like she knows, she has her mind on the wrestling game and she knows where she wants to go with it. So that's like one of the positives I can see of that.
Yeah. All right. I agree. Like it's definitely a different time. So my next question is, which I may have accidentally spoiled by going and getting it, but what is your favorite championship belt of all time?
Man.
Honestly, that is a very tough question. I do love that design. I guess it follows my own personal taste of wrestling belts because I like it when they look complex or like there's a big like there's art like you can have an idea of artistry on the belt. So I guess my favorite is the Stone Cold Steve Austin Smoking Skull belt.
Ooh.
But then the second closest is most recently the newly IWGP United States belt. Like those two look so beautiful that I would, even if I had just had to choose, if I had to choose 2 wrestling belts for the rest of my life, those would be the 2.
Yeah, like I have the United Kingdom Championship, the one that they had before they made it the NXT UK title.
Oh,
so with the WWE logo in the middle instead of the NXT logo in the middle.
yeah.
But so I have that as well, and I have the Attitude Era belt. They're somewhere in the house. I don't know. I'm not going to go look for them, but they're beautiful belts. But still, the classic WCW World Heavyweight Championship,
The big gold.
my favorite.
Yeah.
With
I like the Wing Digger.
Yeah, I love the World Heavyweight Championship from WWE, but I am more of a fan of the WCW version that doesn't have the name up here. It's just normal.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, I understand WWE has to put their name on everything. Hey, that's fine. Do it. But okay, JB3, what were you saying?
Oh, I just said. Oh, I was just saying. Mine was yours is the big gold belt. Mine is the winged, the original wing. It's not the original, but the Winged Eagle WWF World Heavyweight Championship. The one that Brett held, the one that Sean held, the one that Hogan held.
Yeah, those are the classics. Like,
yeah, I also do like the one after that, the one that Stone Cold had. It had like the darker blue strap. It was bigger. That was a good. That's a sick belt too. The Attitude Era belt.
Yeah, and I love the Undisputed Championship belt. I like that one too. I actually really love the Impact Wrestling Championship belt right now. They've had some ugly titles. Dear Lord, they've had some ugly titles, but this one, it looks pretty good. I'm trying to think. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship is also amazing.
Ooh, the IWGP United States Championship is nice too. Now that you mentioned them, they got some nice looking belts too. You're right.
Yeah, I love all of that. I'm trying to think. All right, so what would you say is the ugliest belt design that you've seen in one of the major promotions? Because obviously there's going to be indie belts that look like trash, but
Jeff Hardy Immortal belt.
Oh, I know the belt you're talking about.
It was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it fits heel Jeff Hardy, but if anyone else held that belt, it's like no.
Yep, the Fiend's belt sucked. The 24/7 belt sucks. That's trash.
At least like the 24/7 championship, it's so basic that it's fine. Like, and it doesn't mean anything. Like,
it's true.
So it's okay that it looks bad. It's like when a championship is supposed to mean something and then it looks awful is when I'm like, I don't understand.
It's practically WWE. Honestly, the ugliest belts in my mind is WWE's main belts for the women's and men's singles division. I hate the big W in the middle, and then it's I mean, look, the belts. I like the simple design. I like the nameplates. I just hate the logo because that's ultimately what everyone's eyes can be drawn towards. And at the same time, it shows a lack of creativity. And not lack of creativity, but lack of actually investing in your property. Because Vince is like, I don't want to pay money just so I can have more on the belt. Just slap the W on there, and then that's one of the reasons why I just can't stand looking at them. That's why I like the other design belts, like the Intercontinental. Oh, actually, the old Intercontinental, not the new Intercontinental, and not the new U.S. Championship. Actually, pretty much all of their belts.
I actually like the United States Championship. I did not like the version before, and I didn't like the spinner one. I love the WCW version of it.
The WCW version was great.
I like the new one, but my least favorite, at least major, like JB3 said the Hardy belt. I don't want to jump straight to the Divas Championship because everyone hates that one. But I gotta look up.
That belt was like an acquired taste, honestly. Like you had to get used to it.
Like, have you guys seen the Brahma Bull WWE Championship?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Like they're selling it on WWE Shop right now.
Yeah, their signature championships.
Yeah.
Like I'm not paying over $700 just for something that looks that ugly.
Okay, I don't know if you can tell from my phone, but that is the ugliest piece of trash that I have ever seen. Like, I love The Rock. He, again, my favorite wrestler ever, but this is the ugliest belt ever, and I don't understand how that happens. Like,
we had no say in it, that's for sure.
It's like, I mean, and I'm glad they never brought it out. Like, there was original plans back in the late 90s for him to have a belt like, Steve Austin had his belt. Steve Austin's belt looks great. This belt looks like straight up dog crap. Like, I hate it because it's supposed to be the belt of the world champion.
Yeah, the people champion.
Yeah, exactly. But this belt looks like crap. And I hate it because The Rock deserves something cooler than that. That's why, like, when he won the WWE Championship in 2012 or whatever it was, I was so glad he got rid of the spinner belt because I was like, even though he held it for a month, it was until after No Way Out that he got rid of it or whatever. No, Elimination Chamber. That's what it was. It wasn't until after that he got rid of it and brought out the classic or the WWE Championship design that now we have to deal with now. But at the time, I was like, yes, that's so much better than the spinner belt.
I think that was my issues with that new version, is because with the spinner belt, at least it was associated with the character of John Cena. So when every time he lost that belt, I'm like, you can easily make that belt more iconic if it was just associated with him alone and not have any other wrestler touch that. But then the fact that they did, but then of course, Cena had that near decade of, I want to say in air quotes, dominance, to where they just didn't get rid of it. So when CM Punk had it, I'm like, oh my God, give him a new belt. Like, people want to see a new belt on him, but it took The Rock to get a new belt on him. That to me, even though it's kind of like a down, even though I like the fact that new belt, but it felt to me it was like a spit in the face of CM Punk, because he was a fresh injection in wrestling that fans desperately needed. And even though Vince was willing to oblige, he was still dragging his heels on it. I mean, seriously, he walks out of the company, Vince does, and then of course a week later after Comic-Con, he comes back, and I'm like, you guys had this grand opportunity to tease Punk going to different companies to make people want to watch and see if he's going to show up again. But no, it's like he's gone to pay-per-view. Oh, guess what? He's back 8 days later. Like, there was so much missed there. And then when he does come back, the so-called Summer of Punk was him getting screwed over, buried, until finally people were like, fuck it, just give us Punk again. Give us Punk. They finally give us Punk. And it all falls towards, once again, dragging him through the mud. I mean, CM Punk did a good damn job holding that championship as a face and as a heel to where he made his reign memorable. I just wish that Punk had enough leverage or power to get his own championship.
Yeah. You don't want to forget though. You don't want to forget about the other travesty in that whole scenario was Rey Mysterio's WWE championship reign.
It was like an hour and 45 minutes that he had the belt?
He wins it in the opening and then loses it in the closing. Like, what the fuck?
Like, you go through a tournament to win it, or either a gauntlet or a tournament to win it, and then a fresh John Cena got to face him afterwards. Like,
the most ridiculous part is, how could you not? How is John Cena a face going with this? Like, normally, every time after Money in the Bank, when Punk walked away, he was like, I did not want to screw Punk like you screwed Brett. And he does that with Rey Mysterio. He freaking screwed him over. So I'm like, What are you, a man of principles, or are you just a fucking hypocrite?
Yeah, it's a big old mess. But you're absolutely right with pretty much all of that. Like, I hate that the spinner belt lasted as long as it did. Like, if it had just been like a thing that every time Cena won the championship, he brought it out, it's kind of like, all right, if once Daniel Bryan lost the belt to Kofi, if Kofi had walked around with the hemp strap, but as he won it, they revealed the
old belt,
the old belt, the leather belt. Like, I love that. Like, if whoever beat Cena had just then brought out the Undisputed Championship or a new championship, then that would have been good. If that was just a Cena thing, like how it was with the United States Championship, when he had the spinner version.
Yeah, and then when he lost it, it got blown up.
Yeah.
Punk's heel turn would have been the perfect opportunity. That would have been the perfect time for the Undisputed title to be brought back when he went with Paul Heyman. That would have been the time to bring back the Undisputed title.
But that just goes a lack of vision that he had, a lack of vision that was there. I mean, I don't want to sandbag that company because they have no problem sandbagging themselves. They have no problem dragging themselves to them, throwing themselves in that whole pit to where they got to climb themselves out of. They don't need my help, obviously.
Yeah. All right. So let's shoot some predictions here, fellas. Who do you think will win? All right, the WWE, Universal, AEW, or any of the major women's championships. Who do you think will win the championship for the first time in their career? Or do you think anyone will this coming up year?
For this year? Oh.
Yeah. 2021, do you think anyone will become a first world champion this year? Those belts, at least.
I think Keith Lee he's going to become a first world champion. I don't know which one. Probably the WWE championship. Keith Lee will this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think MJF, he needs to win the AEW World Championship. Like, I don't want to say I don't want to predict that because I want Kenny to hold the belt for a long time because I love this storyline that they're doing right now, especially if he goes and wins the Impact World Championship as well. Like, let him go around and collect belts. Like, that would be great. Like, build yourself a little coalition of promotions and have one person that's Kenny's job is to go around and win. But at the same time, I think I'm trying to think of like faces like Darby Allin. The fact that if he could become AEW World Champion, especially if someone like Kenny is going out and fighting in multiple promotions. They could use the thing of, oh, he's fighting so much. That's the reason why, whatever. He comes back to AEW with all these belts, and it could be like a good revenge heel storyline that the big faces of the companies all come together to get their belts back. So someone like Darby Allin or Hangman Adam Page, I want them to turn him face. And I don't like this alcohol gimmick, but alcoholic gimmick.
They've been, but I will say about the alcohol gimmick, they did use it very well in a storyline because after most recently, what happened with him and Hangman, him and Omega losing the championship, they haven't really relied on it too much. At least when it comes on Dynamite. Because that was a good storyline with Adam, with Hangman. When he lost to Jericho, he decided to do his own thing and then led into the cowboy shit, him drinking alcohol from the fans. That was something they gravitated towards. But there were some times where it looked like it was like going on an alcohol problem, but at least they kept it very small on segments to where like he does a promo or he just does one move in the ring, then he leaves with a cup of beer or with a beer pitcher. They kept it very tasteful. The only time they got serious is when he cost the Bucks a shot at playing to fight Hangman and Page to when the Bucks kicked him out. That was the only time for me it felt like where it got serious.
Okay. All right. So do you guys have any predictions on who's going to be I know JB3, you said Keith Lee.
Yeah. I've been watching recently on Impact, but I'm not too new into it to predict who's going to be champion either division this year. I mean, part of me feels like the Good Brothers might drop their tag belts to another team. Maybe it's Motor City Machine Guns again, or it could be the team of Willie Mack and Rich Swann. But like I haven't been watching it recently. I do know that for the Knockouts division, Deonna Purrazzo, I think she's going to hold that belt and maybe for another few months. I think she might drop it to Neil Dashwood or Jordan Grace, maybe. I mean, unless they bring in a new face that's going to really challenge her. But here's a prediction for the women's. For WWE, I do believe Keith Lee's going to become WWE champion. I think sometime in 2021, Roman's going to drop that Universal title. Personally, I want it to be Jay who wins it. For the women's division, I believe Asuka will drop that Raw championship. It's either going to be to Shayna Baszler for the first time, or it might be an NXT call-up who wins it. Who knows? Who knows? It could be Io Shirai. They might call her up, or it can be Charlotte Flair. Even though Charlotte, I think she should be nowhere near that title. Maybe until SummerSlam. That's my opinion. And then Sasha, I want her to win it. I want her to hold it after WrestleMania. Then she can drop it to Bianca Belair. Or if you want a surprise, give it to Billie Kay because Billie Kay is a great character.
Yep.
And then for AEW, I would say that Hangman is going to win that championship from Kenny. And then for the women's, Britt Baker's time's coming. She's going to win that AEW women's belt, and then she's going to have this nice rivalry with Thunder Rosa for that title because she's done a good job with it. But it's been obvious. Britt's star is on the rise. She was a highlight in 2020. She's going to be a highlight again this year.
Okay, and I just saw JB3. I know you got to leave in just a minute, so I want to make an announcement with you guys that I want to do this year. I don't know when I want to do it. I want to do. I'm going to try and figure out like the point system and everything. And the two of y'all, and I'm going to try and invite Nico on, and I want y'all to do a draft 10 superstars.
Oh man!
And every pay-per-view, if they win or they lose, you get points. And by the end of the year, by the end of 2021, the winner, so that it keeps up with the discussion of. But yeah, you guys draft it from the WWE and AEW. You can draft 10 superstars from those, and we'll do just a draft like Ryan will choose, then JB3 will choose, then Nico will choose, and then it will continue onward. But I got to get the point system and stuff for like a normal win. Let's say for an example is like 5 points. A championship win is like 10 points, and then all of that stuff, so that we'll have something continuously to talk about. And like maybe a WrestleMania win will be more points, but I got to figure all that out. But JB3, I know you got to leave in just a minute, and I think we're getting on to quite a bit of time, so we may just go ahead and go farewell in just a minute. But you good with that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think that's good. I think this was a good block that we had just talking here, and then I mean, like it's your first one. You can definitely retool it down the road, like see which works for you. But this was like a good hour and a half for me, honestly.
Yeah, we've been on this call for an hour and 48 minutes or something like that. So, and that doesn't even include the time beforehand. But yeah, like if y'all are interested in doing that superstar draft, I'll go ahead and start working on how the logistics of that work, and then I'll talk to Nico to see if he'll come in, and then we'll work on that one day, and that will probably be an entire episode is y'all just drafting superstars because I'll have to write down who y'all choose and everything. But yeah, like that's what we'll do. And all right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the farewell. JB3, thank you so much for coming on. I have been so happy that this was such a success. I did not think we would talk this long. But is there anything you wanna plug or anything?
Oh yeah, for sure. Combat Wrestling Trivia. We just had the big event, the New Year's Rumble is kicking off our new season. 2 big matches. The first match, you can see, is the actual New Year's Rumble match. It's basically just like a Royal Rumble. Some familiar faces do make an appearance in that match, and it's definitely it's actually quite the crazy match. And then the second one is it's a CWT Undisputed World Championship match between the champions Matt Rosa defending against Brandon Rutledge. Now, Combat Wrestling Trivia is on a brand new YouTube channel, no longer on Nerd Entertainment Network. However, because it's a new channel, there's issues. If you search, for Combat Wrestling Trivia, maybe not the newer videos won't pop up, so filter by the channel if you can when you search for Combat Wrestling Trivia. Otherwise, go to the Facebook group Combat Wrestling Trivia. Join there. We put all the links there to all of our matches, so you'll be able to watch it there through that way as well. So thank you so much for having me on the show, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask, did you enjoy this experience? Is this something you are going to want to come back for?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I like Ryan said, yeah, it's a good block of time to just talk, and I'm really intrigued by a lot of the things that you got planned. A lot of your different ideas for whether it be the movie trivia get championship that you guys got, and also this league that you were talking about with the draft. That's pretty intriguing. I like it a lot. So
yeah, and we only used about half my ideas today, and we're almost at 2 hours. So if we had gone over all of that, we would be here forever. So yeah, I guess that's what you get for over planning. But thank you, JB3. I'll catch you around. Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right, Ryan. So do you have anything you want to plug up or down or whatever? I don't even know. I'm so tired.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, I do have a few things to plug. First off, I mean, of course, since this is on TMG, definitely want to plug some of the TMG shows on here, like Suplex City Chats, where myself and JV3 actually do some wrestling panel discussions on mainly weekly reviewings of mainly from WWE and AEW and NXT. We've had a break for a while because of the holiday season. Hopefully, we're going to be coming back soon. But also, if people still want to other forms of wrestling, I'm also part of a podcast with my buddy James Shimo called Wrestling Ramblings and Rages Podcast. We've mainly just been on periodically reviewing pay-per-views or certain wrestling news. We are going to take a step forward to mostly become a weekly thing, to where James and I, month by month, are going to cycle like talking about WWE and AEW. But at the moment, I mean, we're still working the kinks out. But yeah, but even then, the episodes are still available on Anchor. It's the, once again, Wrestling Ramblings and Rages Podcast. It's easy to get those words mixed up. But it's available on Anchor. You can check out an episode and see if you enjoy it. And also, my YouTube channel, since we had talked about the movie Trivia Schmodown, my YouTube channel is called Mount Schmodown, to where myself and my co-host Ben and Brandon, we talk about movie trivia players throughout the Schmodown's history. We do a player profile breakdown. We talk about their matches, favorite moments, highlighted moments, what contributions they've made. We really try to go all in depth to really celebrate the player's history. Check out our channel. We've already covered players like Scott Mance, Josh McCouga, Emma Fife, Sam Whitwer, Joseph Scrimshaw. Our most recent episode was Breanne Chandler. And tomorrow on Saturday at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 Eastern, we're going to be talking with another Schmodown after show called Schmoes of the North, as we are going to be talking about Ken Knapsack. Now, that guy, he's had a hell of a career in the Schmodown. So it's going to be a full panel, like 6 or 7 people total. So believe me, there's going to be a lot to be said about this man. But just go ahead to our YouTube channel, Mount Schmodown, our Twitter, Mount Schmodown. Just check us out. Hopefully you enjoy the content we give you.
All right. Well, it was great to have you. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked JB3. Did you enjoy this experience? And is this something you would want to do again?
I definitely did enjoy it myself. I would definitely love to do this again. Even if I can't be here like on a consistent basis, I would still love to pop in every now and then just to have a discussion just about certain topics, because there's so much content now out there for all of us. I mean, everyone's got to have an opinion.
Oh, yeah, I agree completely. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm going to...
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are very welcome. All right, folks. This is the end of the show. I really enjoyed all of our guests. Thank you guys all for being here. Please, we on the screen is my Twitter and the show's Twitter, at Colton Roberts 8 and at Supernova_show. If you would like to follow along with the show and everything, that'd be good. We'll be keeping updates there, and we have a Facebook group, the Supernova Show Facebook group. So if you want to, you can go request to join there. We'll have discussions and stuff. I'm going to do my best to make this a weekly adventure. Yep. So I'm signing out. Thank you.